WrestleMania Hollywood, and one of the biggest shock results of the weekend. Omos has defeated the Beast, and MVP is banging the drum and he yells at the camera. That's how we handle business. But business is only just starting to pick up, baby. It's time for a new era. We'll see you on Raw. And MVP, who's flanked by Omos, puts the word out and says, I want to see business booming. I want the Hurt Business to be on top of WWE again. We are going to dominate. It's then, though, we see Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin come out, and they say, we're ready to go. Let's pick it up right where we left off. But MVP says, yeah, about that. Last time, we fell apart. This time, people are going to have to earn their way in. Omos earned his way in after slaying the Beast at WrestleMania. There's no more mediocrity. You want in, you earn it. And that goes for Bobby as well, who lost last night to Wyatt and clearly needs some guidance. Lashley is face to face with Omos and MVP, and it looks like they're going to go. But he says, I heard my name in your mouth, and I know you weren't talking about me when you said mediocre. And MVP says, see, that's the thing, Bobby. I'm not talking about you at all. You were what the Hurt Business was all about. Strong, hard-hitting, a winner. So you're always welcome. But you turned me down, and that doesn't fly. But if you want to reconsider, maybe I will too. The next week, Bobby's approached by Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin, and they say, you can't seriously be thinking about joining him. He's only going to screw you over like he did to us. We spoke to him for weeks backstage. He sold us the dream and then dismantled us like we were nothing. Bobby is stoic. He just walks off again. Is he actually considering joining? Because if he is, he isn't the only one. MVP makes a special trip to NXT during the week, and there is a lot of suitors. He's first approached backstage by Wes Lee, and he says he's ready to take his game to the next level. And MVP says, I've had my eye on you for a long time, Wes. But this isn't just a matter of asking and then we let you in. You're going to have to earn it the hard way. But you are invited to our private, let's say, screening process. And Wesley accepts, but what is this screening process? Well, we get a little bit more info when MVP runs into another person who's interested. It's Apollo Crews. And Crews says, I've heard you were looking for talent. Looking for people who want to level up. Well, look no further. And MVP says, I knew you were here and I knew coming here was the right thing to do. Apollo, you know I'm interested. But as I've said to everybody else, it's earned. And our screening process is next week. And all you need to bring is your fists. We'll see you there. Mr. Hayes, I've been looking everywhere for you. You are the main reason I'm here. An athlete like you comes along once in a generation. The offer is completely open to you. Some will have to earn it, but some are handpicked. And you have already earned it. You're about as good as I've ever seen. And of everyone I want, you are him. Montez, Angelo, I think you guys know why I'm here. The people want it, I want it, and I know that you two want it. Montez and Angelo think about it, but they ultimately decide to walk away from MVP, but he stops them and he says, you know, if you don't want to do business, there are receipts. And with recruiting in full swing, we find out at WrestleMania Backlash just what this screening process is. MVP allows cameras inside where it's being held, and it's straight up shoot fights. An underground fight club where MVP is overseeing it all in order to pick who's worthy of being in the Hurt Business. And MVP expands on the idea to the camera purely to send a message to the rest of the WWE locker room. And he says, this is how you promote excellence. You think this sport is a joke to us? You think this is some kind of game? Oh no. When I said we're picking up business, this is what I mean. We're going to select only the most battle-hardened athletes in the world. So now you see what we mean. Now, you go and spread the word. The new Hurt Business is coming, and we're going to reveal it on Raw. Business will be booming. Now cut that camera off. It's time for the official unveiling of the group, and MVP couldn't be more proud. He's standing with Omos behind him, and he wastes no time introducing the newest members. He says, the first man I want to introduce is a man who showed me something I honestly always knew he had. And let me show you on the Tron just what I mean. Ladies and gentlemen, Apollo Crews is the newest member of the Hurt Business. Crews comes out and he looks in phenomenal shape. He looks mean. He looks different. MVP has primed him to be ready for this, but MVP doesn't stop the reveals there. There's another member, and MVP is just as confident. And he says, there's nothing I could say about this man that would do it justice. So I'll just show you again. It's Kato. This is about as intimidating as it gets, and MVP says all three of these men have once been rivals. And all three have been galvanized by battle. We know each other's strengths and we know each other's weaknesses. And they all earned this. That's what the true Hurt Business is all about. But then we see Cedric and Shelton run out. They want revenge and they want to fight. MVP sees this as a great chance and he sends Crews and Kato out to take care of them. And they do. They're vicious and they're tearing them apart. Bobby Lashley is here and he runs out and Kato and Crews immediately back up. Lashley is fired up and he makes the save. The Hurt Business was formed around Lashley and now it seems like he's willing to fight against them. Oh no! Lashley has the Hurt lock in on Cedric. This is unbelievable. Not only do the Hurt Business have two new dangerous members and a giant in Omos, but now they have the powerhouse original CEO. With a new and more dangerous Hurt Business on the loose, the whole roster is on notice, but no one more than Shelton and Cedric. They try a more tactical approach. They take advantage of a moment when MVP is vulnerable and by himself. It's right at the end of the show, and MVP has just said goodbye to the rest of the group. Benjamin and Alexander mug him. They beat him down, and they say, "You are coming with us." Shelton, Cedric, I've told you so many times to stay out of my business, and yet here we are. You boys have no idea what you're getting yourselves into. This is real. You're looking at four men who can end your career, so bring us MVP, or we can come and take him by force. It's then on the Tron we see Cedric and Shelton with a battered and bruised MVP, and they have a very clear message. Cedric says, "We're mediocre, right? Well, this doesn't look too mediocre to us. We want one thing. We want to fight. King of the Ring in Jeddah. But we want to fight on our terms. And our terms, well, they're going to be to hit you when you least expect it." The Street Profits They've made their decision. Kato and Omos go right after them, but they get taken out with chairs. It's come apart at the seams, and we cut backstage, and MVP is just laying there, alone. And back in the ring, Lashley and Cruz get hit from above from the air. Alexander and Benjamin have outsmarted the Hurt Business. The crowd loves it. And now the numbers are even as we head into the King of the Ring, which is an apt name for more reasons than one when it comes to this bitter war. It's 4v4 to determine an unofficial King of the Ring. Who will be the King of the Jungle between these 8 men? It's chaos and carnage all over ringside, as you'd imagine. Kato and Omos are fighting the Street Profits. Cruz is fighting Cedric, and then in the ring, it's Lashley and Shelton. Shelton looks to put Lashley away, but he can't. Bobby is too strong, and Lashley puts him down with a Dominator, and then he goes to the corner, and it's time. Carmelo Hayes, he's standing in front of Shelton, and Bobby is incredibly confused. Lashley is screaming at him saying, "What the hell are you doing, Hayes? Get the hell out of the way." But what is he thinking? We find out. No way! Carmelo Hayes has crossed to the dark side. Hayes goes to the top and lays out Benjamin. He leaves him in the ring. Lashley lines him up, he hits the spear, and the Hurt Business get the massive win in Jeddah. But in all the chaos, Lashley is still confused. He clearly wasn't told about this plan. He clearly is somewhat threatened by a potentially new alpha of the group. Hayes laps up the credit on the entranceway, and it seems like business has just picked up in more ways than one. And on Raw, Bobby wants answers and he speaks with MVP, and he says, "Why wasn't I kept in the loop about Hayes?" But MVP shrugs it off and says, "Not all of our business should be out there, Bobby, you know this. It keeps the element of surprise." But Bobby doesn't like it. He says, "We are a unit. We should act like one. And I want to be kept in the loop about all major decisions like this going forward, okay?" Yeah, we are a unit. A unit that has 2 title opportunities lined up. Apollo has a number 1 contenders match for the US title tonight, and Kato and Omos have a tag team number 1 contenders match as well. So let's focus up, Bobby. And who knows? Maybe we'll get Melo into that Money in the Bank match and we can really take over. And Bobby hates this, and he snaps at MVP and says, "Melo, what about me? You seem to have everyone else figured out, right?" And MVP says, "We're working on what's next for you. Don't worry about it." Later on that night, Apollo Crews has a big number 1 contenders match against Chad Gable. Gable, of course, has separated and gone out on his own after Otis was snapped up by Maxim Male Models. Gable is on a tear, and he is as dangerous as anyone on the roster right now. He out-wrestles Crews in almost every single way, but this version of Crews has an edge. He has a vicious streak. He gets Gable out of the ring and slams his head into the stairs, busting him wide open. Crews seizes upon it too. He mounts him and he smashes into the open wound. And he finishes him off with a cruise control for the win. He's now got US champion Austin Theory in his sights. But the momentum doesn't stop there, because Kato and Omos managed to win their match too, even with an attempted interference from not only the Street Profits, but also Cedric and Shelton. But both teams get thwarted by perfectly executed attacks from the well-oiled Hurt Business machine, who were ready, except for Bobby Lashley. It's Melo and Cruz who take out both teams separately and pave the way for the big title matches at Money in the Bank. But speaking of Money in the Bank, a big opportunity is on the horizon, but not in the way the Hurt Business would expect. Adam Pearce has some big news for MVP. He says that given the momentum of the Hurt Business and, well, you know, except for King of the Ring, they've largely done things above board. He's offering both Bobby Lashley and Carmelo Hayes the chance to qualify for the Money in the Bank ladder match in London. Melo will be having his match against Finn Balor tonight, with Bobby getting his chance to qualify next week against Braun Strowman. And MVP is happy for the chance, but he says, "I know your game, Pearce. I know you don't like us. And I know you're trying to drive a wedge, but you don't know how tight my family is. And we're going to show you. And Melo does show exactly why he was hand-chosen by MVP. Even for his first big-time match on Raw, he's incredibly impressive. But this is the former Universal Champion, Finn Balor. He's giving it all back as well, and he has far more experience on this stage. And while Melo does have backup, so does Balor. And Rhea Ripley saunters out onto the stage. But just like last week, Hurt Business are well-oiled and well-organised. Omos and Kato cut her off. But this was all part of the plan. She was just a distraction, because here comes Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin, and they are armed. They cut down the big man, and they get some revenge. And this paves the way for Dominic and Priest to get involved at ringside. But Cruz isn't having this at all. He was ready as well. He runs out, goes after them, but he gets outnumbered. Priest and Mysterio get on top, but not for long. Lashley wipes out Judgment Day, and he gives Hayes the opening. He knocks Balor down, heads to the top, and books his place in the Money in the Bank match. All with the massive assist from someone who could well be his opponent. And we find out if he is going to be the week after. Bobby Lashley takes on the monster Braun Strowman, and it's a very even battle. They beat the hell out of each other all over the ringside area. But just like the previous week, the chaos ensues again. Cedric and Shelton try to get involved. They have a clear beef with Lashley and the Hurt Business. But they're smart enough to get Owens and Zayn to take out Kato and Omos before they even go out there. Cruz tries to stop them. He holds them just long enough on the ramp that it gives Carmelo Hayes the chance to return the favour to Lashley. With the referee distracted, Hayes gets on the apron. Strowman advances on him and he is pissed. He's about to attack, but he senses Lashley behind him. Lashley looks for a spear, but Strowman moves and Lashley collects Melo. And Strowman takes the chance. He picks up Lashley, ready for a running power slam, but he gets out. He gets some distance and he smashes him with a spear. Lashley has now also qualified for the Money in the Bank ladder match. But he can't celebrate long, because here comes Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin. They try to take him down, but they're dispatched together by Melo and Bobby Lashley. But afterwards, the tension is cleared, because at Money in the Bank, they are opponents. It's time for Money in the Bank in London, and the first assignment for the Hurt Business is the Tag Team Championships. And with MVP sparing no expense, he's got private security keeping out the likes of Benjamin and Alexander, giving the two giants the clear path to fight, and fight they do. Because despite the best efforts of Owens and Zayn, they're overwhelmed by the sheer size of Omos and Dabba Kato. It's a huge statement from the Hurt Business, and it shows that this group is deadly serious. We now have new Raw Tag Team Champions, and it sends shockwaves through the entire locker room. All the way to Theory. He looks somewhat distracted and nervous, and so he should be. Because right as the match gets underway, he gets swooped by Cruz, and Cruz dominates him. He throws him all over the ring. He slams his head off the announce table, slams his head off the stairs. He bloodies him up just like he did Gable. He beats him down, and then not just wins, but takes the United States Championship. It's yet another massive statement. And now, all attention turns to the Money in the Bank ladder match, and it has combustible written all over it. And as usual, the Money in the Bank ladder match is carnage. And all through the match, Melo and Lashley manage to avoid one another. They manage to level the field, but without knowing, they both end up in yet another tense situation. Hayes scales one side of the ladder, and Lashley scales the other. And Lashley says, "Your time will come, kid. You've got potential, but this is my time." And Melo says, "Man, you're crazy if you think I'm stepping down." Melo don't miss, especially not on purpose. LA Knight! He took his chance. He pushes both of them off the ladder. They crash and burn. LA Knight scales that same ladder, and it's LA Knight who wins the Money in the Bank ladder match. And during Knight's celebration on the entrance, the tension is off the charts now. Melo and Lashley have to be separated by MVP. It seems like there isn't enough room for both of them in this business. And we embark on one of the most explosive road to SummerSlam we've ever seen. Brand new United States champion Apollo Crews is talking a big game. He says, my time in NXT taught me one thing, and that's grit. It taught me that I need to be more ruthless, but that wasn't enough. It was the Hurt Business that brought it out of me. And now, look where I am. I'm a champion, I'm rich, I'm on top of my game, and there ain't no one who could take that from me. You're not the only one who's learned a lesson in all of this, Apollo. When you beat me for that spot, I learned a little bit of grit too. Wesley punches Apollo Crews in the face, and the brawl is on. But they're quickly separated by security, and Wesley shouts at him and he says, SummerSlam, Apollo. It's time to see if you really have learned anything. And Crews, in the heat of the moment, agrees to it, and he says, you're on, Lee. I'm gonna make an example of you. But right after this confrontation, we see another one, because we see a number one contenders match for the tag team championships go down at the order of Adam Pearce. It's Benjamin and Alexander versus the Street Profits. Both teams are desperate for another crack at Kato and Omos. But no one wants it more than Cedric and Shelton. They pull out all the stops, and they narrowly beat Angelo and Montez. But it's all respect. Angelo and Montez wish them all the best. But as they walk off, they get dismantled by Kato and Omos. But before Shelton and Cedric can run to help, they get put down by Mello and Lashley again. It's a recurring theme. But once again, they come face to face. And the tension is even stronger now. And MVP quickly rushes out. He stands in between them. And Lashley makes it very clear. He says, Montel, it's me or it's him. I'll give you 1 week to decide. It's decision time. But MVP doesn't see it that way. MVP says, Bobby, please, the only choice here is who our next victim is. You and Mello are special. You're both generational. Together, you guys are the future. Together, we are the future. The prophecy is almost fulfilled. We run this place. Lashley made his own choice. He spears MVP, and then he tries to spear Mello, but he evades, and they start trading. It's completely boiled over. There was never enough room for both of these alpha males. Then, all over the arena, in seemingly all corners of it, chaos erupts. Omos and Kato are fighting Cedric and Shelton. Wesley and Crews are embroiled in a wild brawl in the crowd as well. But back in the ring, Lashley has the hurt lock on Hayes, and Lashley is screaming in his ear, and he says, you want to talk business now, Mello? You want to make some money? You want to be a star? Fight me at SummerSlam. The veteran original CEO versus the young, hungry apprentice. Lashley made his choice. He chose to go into business for himself, and he is dominating Mello, trying to teach him a lesson in respect. Mello is going to have to earn the right to call himself the CEO, and he fights. Despite a crimson mask, despite the hurt, he fights. And Lashley gets frustrated. He gets desperate, and he removes the turnbuckle pad. And he puts Hayes in the corner. He's going to end it. And he looks to attack, but Mello counters, and Mello locks in the hurt lock on Lashley. He knows he can't hold him for very long, so he slams Lashley's head into the exposed turnbuckle. Lashley has fallen on his own sword. Mello goes to the top. Nothing but net. Mello does it. He beats the Almighty. And as MVP watches on proudly, he didn't have to get involved. No run-ins, no chaos, no drama, just business. And Carmelo Hayes shows the world he is the new CEO, and he shows the world that he is him.